history's greatest empires became powerful because they conquered the world, others because they discovered gold. Panama became powerful simply because it existed. A narrow bridge of land, too small to notice on most globes, yet impossible to ignore once you understand where it sits. For thousands of years, people crossed it. Merchants, conquerors, dreamers, explorers. Gold from Peru, silver from the Andes, goods from Asia. Today, the traffic never stopped. Only the cargo became larger. The world carved a passage through the heart of Panama and called it one of humanity's greatest achievements. But in celebrating the passage, it forgot the place. It remembered the canal. It overlooked the country. Because Panama is far more than the shortcut that reshaped global trade. It is one of the most extraordinary pieces of geography on Earth. And its story is every bit as astonishing as the ships that pass through it. Before we begin, take a second to tell me where you're watching from. Leave your city or country in the comments and let's see how many corners of the world are joining today's journey. It is one of the smallest countries in the Americas. Yet this narrow ribbon of land sits at one of the most important crossroads on Earth. At its slimmest point, less than 80 kilometers separate the Caribbean Sea from the Pacific Ocean. From the summit of Vulcan Bar, on exceptionally clear days, people have long claimed they can see both oceans at once. Whether that is perfectly true or simply a beautiful legend hardly matters. It captures something far more important. Panama is a country where the world seems to fold in on itself. Look at a map, and it appears almost effortless, a thin bridge connecting two continents. Stand on the ground, however, and that simplicity disappears. Panama twists across the landscape like a giant letter S, creating one of geography's greatest illusions. The famous canal, despite linking the Atlantic and Pacific, runs largely northwest to southeast. Ships entering from the Atlantic actually travel southeast before reaching the Pacific. It is a country that immediately challenges your assumptions. Even the compass seems to hesitate here. Running through the heart of the nation is the Cordillera Central, a rugged mountain backbone that divides Panama into two remarkably different worlds. To the north, the Caribbean coast is drenched by warm trade winds that release enormous volumes of rain. Some regions receive well over 5 meters annually, feeding rivers that surge through dense rainforest before emptying into the sea. Here, abandoned buildings vanish beneath vines within months, and the forest constantly reminds humanity who truly owns the land. Cross the mountains, and everything changes. The Pacific coast is brighter, drier, and more seasonal. Its shores stretch into broad bays, scattered islands, and fertile plains where much of Panama's population has settled. More than 3/4 of the country's people live along this side, where modern cities coexist with mangroves, fishing villages, and quiet beaches touched by the largest ocean on Earth. High in the western province of Chirique lies Boquete, where cool mountain air replaces tropical heat. Rich volcanic soils nurture what many experts consider among the finest coffee on the planet, while cloud forests drift down the slopes of Volcan Bar in rolling curtains of mist. It feels less like Central America and more like another climate entirely, hidden above the clouds. Then there is Darien. The name is spoken almost with reverence. At the eastern edge of Panama, the Pan American Highway, the road that stretches from Alaska toward the southern tip of South America, simply ends. For roughly 160 kilometers, asphalt surrenders to jungle. There are no highways, no easy crossings, only dense rainforest, winding rivers, steep mountains, and one of the richest ecosystems on Earth. The Darien Gap has resisted explorers, armies, engineers, and governments for centuries. Indigenous communities have called it home for thousands of years, while countless migrants have risked everything attempting to cross it. Most places invite people in. Darien asks whether they belong. It is not an unfinished road. It is nature's reminder that even in the 21st century, there are still places where the wilderness makes the rules. Imagine standing in a forest before sunrise. The air is still. Then, almost without warning, the silence explodes. A toucan calls from the canopy. Macaws streak across the sky. Hummingbirds dart between flowers. Somewhere in the distance, a troop of howler monkeys announces the morning with a roar that echoes through the trees. This is Panama, one of the greatest wildlife crossroads on Earth. Despite covering just 75,417 square kilometers, Panama is home to more than 1,000 recorded bird species, more than the entire continental United States and Canada combined, and more than all of Europe. At the legendary Pipeline Road, birdwatchers regularly identify over 100 species before breakfast. Few places on the planet can rival such astonishing diversity. The secret lies beneath your feet. 3 million years ago, the Isthmus of Panama rose from the sea, connecting North and South America for the first time. This geological event, known as the Great American Biotic Interchange, reshaped life on Earth. Ocean currents shifted, climates changed, and animals from two isolated continents suddenly met, competed, and evolved together on this narrow bridge of land. That ancient collision still defines Panama today. Deep within the forests of the Darien Gap prowls the elusive jaguar, the largest cat in the Americas. Overhead soars the harpy eagle, one of the world's most powerful birds of prey, capable of lifting monkeys and sloths from the canopy. Endangered Baird's tapirs, giant anteaters, hundreds of mammals, and thousands of insects thrive beneath forests that remain among the richest ecosystems ever studied. Beyond the jungle, another world awaits. Panama touches both the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific Ocean, creating an extraordinary marine sanctuary. Along the Pacific coast, humpback whales arrive from both the northern and southern hemispheres to breed in the country's warm waters, making Panama the only place on Earth where the two great migrations overlap. On the Caribbean side, coral reefs shelter dolphins, nurse sharks, manatees, and endangered sea turtles whose ancestors swam these waters long before humans existed. Yet this paradise is fragile. Panama's iconic golden frog has disappeared from the wild, devastated by the deadly chytrid fungus that has driven amphibians toward extinction across Central America. It survives only through captive breeding programs, a haunting reminder of how quickly nature's treasures can vanish. Recognizing what is at stake, Panama has placed nearly 40% of its territory under protection, one of the highest proportions in the Americas. Even so, illegal logging, expanding agriculture, and climate change continue to threaten these extraordinary ecosystems. Panama is famous for connecting oceans. Far fewer people realize it also connects worlds of life found almost nowhere else on Earth. No story about Panama is complete without the canal. It is more than an engineering marvel. It is one of the few human creations that permanently changed the geography of global commerce. Stretching 82 kilometers, or 51 miles, across the country, the Panama Canal connects the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans through a remarkable system of locks. Instead of cutting a sea-level passage, engineers designed a giant water elevator, lifting ships 26 meters above sea level to cross the vast waters of Gatun Lake before lowering them back to the opposite ocean. The result was revolutionary. A voyage that once meant battling the violent seas around Cape Horn for nearly 13,000 extra kilometers can now be completed in just 8 to 10 hours. Every year, around 14,000 vessels make that journey, carrying everything from cars and grain to electronics, oil, and liquefied natural gas. Nearly 5% of global maritime trade passes through this narrow corridor, generating more than $3 billion annually for Panama and making the canal one of the world's most valuable transportation routes. But the canal was never just a triumph of engineering. It was built with extraordinary sacrifice. The French tried first in 1881 under the celebrated engineer Ferdinand de Lesseps, fresh from his success at the Suez Canal. They believed Panama would be another victory. Instead, they found a nightmare. Relentless rain triggered landslides. Yellow fever and malaria devastated the workforce. By the time France abandoned the project, more than 20,000 workers had died, leaving behind one of history's greatest engineering disasters. When the United States took over in 1904, it first fought disease instead of the jungle. Army physician William Gorgas led a groundbreaking mosquito eradication campaign that saved thousands of lives and transformed modern public health, making construction possible. Yet the canal also became a symbol of American power. Following Panama's independence from Colombia in 1903, the United States controlled the Canal Zone for almost a century, while thousands of laborers from Barbados, Jamaica, Trinidad, and other Caribbean islands performed much of the dangerous work under the discriminatory gold roll and silver roll system. On December 31, 1999, the canal finally returned to Panamanian hands. Today, the Panama Canal Authority operates one of the most efficient waterways on Earth. To the world, it is a shortcut between two oceans. To Panama, it is a legacy written in steel, water, and the lives of those who built it. Panama City doesn't reveal itself gradually. It appears all at once. Across the Bridge of the Americas, and a forest of glass skyscrapers suddenly rises from the edge of the Pacific. For a brief moment, it feels as though you've arrived in Singapore, Miami, or Dubai, rather than Central America. It is one of Latin America's most striking skylines, a symbol of a nation whose economy has long been shaped by global trade. But behind those shimmering towers lies a city nearly 5 centuries older. On the waterfront stand the haunting ruins of Panama Viejo, founded in 1519 as the first permanent European settlement on the Pacific coast of the Americas. For more than 150 years, gold and silver from South America passed through its streets on their journey to Spain. Then, in 1671, the Welsh privateer Henry Morgan attacked and destroyed the city. Most places would have disappeared. Panama simply moved a few kilometers west and began again. That new beginning became Casco Viejo. Today, its cobbled streets, colorful balconies, grand churches, and colonial plazas tell the story of Spanish America. Declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1997, it has become one of the country's most visited destinations. Elegant boutique hotels, rooftop cafes, and restored mansions now fill streets that were once neglected. Yet renewal has brought difficult questions, as rising property values have displaced many long-time residents. The beauty is undeniable. So is the cost. Beyond the postcard views lies the city most Panamanians know. Bustling neighborhoods stretch far beyond the financial district, where millions live, work, and commute every day. In places like San Miguelito, one of the country's most densely populated urban areas, Panama's modern story unfolds far from the tourist brochures. Along the waterfront, the Mercado de Mariscos comes alive each morning as fishermen unload fresh catches from both the Caribbean and Pacific. Here, ceviche is more than a national favorite. It is a daily ritual, served within minutes of leaving the sea. Travel north to the Caribbean coast, and another city tells a very different story. Colne guards the Atlantic entrance to the canal. It was once the gateway for thousands of Caribbean workers who arrived to build the railroad and later the canal, shaping Panama's multicultural identity. Beside it stands the Colon Free Zone, the largest free trade zone in the Western Hemisphere, where billions of dollars worth of goods move through warehouses each year. Yet despite standing beside one of the world's busiest trade corridors, Colon has long struggled with poverty, unemployment, and underinvestment. It is one of Panama's greatest contrasts, a place where immense global wealth passes by every day without always reaching the communities living beside it. Panama's cities are not defined by one skyline. They are defined by resilience. Every generation has rebuilt, reinvented, and adapted to the extraordinary geography that placed this small nation at the center of the world. As evening falls over Panama, the country becomes exactly what it has always been, a place where worlds meet. Along the Cinta Costera, Panama City's waterfront promenade, families stroll beneath swaying palms as cyclists glide past a skyline glowing in the last light of the Pacific. Behind the towers, the sun disappears into the ocean. Ahead, cargo ships wait patiently for their turn to enter one of the most important waterways on Earth. Some are carrying cars. Others carry grain, electronics, medicine, or energy. Each is part of a journey that will quietly affect millions of lives across the globe. For Panama, it is simply another evening. Far to the east, in the forests of Darien, darkness arrives differently. There are no city lights, no highways, only the sounds of insects, distant rivers, and the silent movement of a jaguar slipping through one of the last great wildernesses in the Americas. Above the canopy, a harpy eagle settles into its nest, while countless creatures continue rhythms that have changed little since long before humans built roads or borders. To the north, across the turquoise waters of Gunayala, lanterns begin to glow inside wooden homes built on tiny coral islands. The Guna woman patiently stitches a mola, folding layers of brightly colored fabric into intricate patterns passed down through generations. Every stitch preserves a story. Every design connects the past with the future. Yet the sea surrounding her island rises a little higher each year, reminding its people that preserving culture now also means protecting the land beneath it. On the Caribbean coast, in Colon, another evening unfolds. A retired canal worker sits outside his home, watching a container ship glide toward the Atlantic. It stretches longer than 3 football fields, carrying thousands of containers across oceans in a voyage that will take only hours instead of weeks because of the canal his father helped build. The ship moves on. His memories remain. In the cool highlands of Boquete, clouds drift silently through forests beneath Vulcan Bar. Somewhere in the mist, a resplendent quetzal settles for the night. Hidden among trees, found nowhere else on Earth, few travelers ever see it. That is precisely why these forests still matter. Back in Panama City, the lights remain on long after sunset. Inside offices, laboratories, classrooms, and small apartments, a new generation is shaping the country's future. Engineers improve logistics that keep global trade moving. Marine biologists protect coral reefs and whale nurseries. Entrepreneurs build technology companies. Journalists investigate corruption. Indigenous leaders defend ancestral lands. Young lawyers fight court battles over forests, rivers, and communities that cannot defend themselves alone. They understand that Panama's greatest challenge is no longer building the canal. It is deciding what kind of nation will grow around it. How can prosperity reach every community? How can economic growth protect, rather than destroy, one of the richest ecosystems on Earth? How can a country so famous for connecting oceans become equally known for protecting its forests, celebrating its cultures, and investing in its people? These are the questions shaping Panama's next century. The world knows the canal, but the canal is only the beginning. Panama is the rainforest where continents first met. The skyline rises beside colonial streets. The ships crossed between two oceans. And above all, the people who have spent generations living on the bridge that connects the world. For more than 500 years, Panama has brought the world together. Perhaps it is finally time for the world to see Panama